Hey guys, back with another video, talking about a game I just finished. A surprising game, actually. That is Metroid Prime, the original on this Metroid trilogy here. This is actually not my copy of this game. No steelbook case. This is my friend's copy. I'll get into why I played this game, but I borrowed it from him. And I just beat it. I'm not going to be playing Metroid Prime 2 or 3 yet. I'm going to probably buy this at a later date and then play those. I just had a craving to play Metroid Prime, and he owned it. He bought it off like eBay for it. This was like $70 for him, and this is just like the normal copy of the game. I guess this didn't come with the steel book or the. Is there an art book with it? I don't know, but this is an expensive game now. I don't know. It's a bit too pricey for me. Like I don't know if I want to pay $70 for this, but well, then again, I mean, it is worth it when you consider. At least I'm pretty sure that all three of these games are going to be great on here. But Metroid Prime 1. Why did I play this? Now, some of you might remember I did a video talking about games that I don't like that everybody else seems to love. I put Metroid Prime on that video. I talked about how when I was like maybe 12 or 13, when the game first came out on GameCube, I played it for maybe a couple hours and I just couldn't get into it. But I always felt like I needed to go back because that game's, Metroid Prime's considered to be a masterpiece. Everyone loves Metroid Prime, and I feel like it should have been one of those games I would enjoy. And for some strange reason, I had a craving for it. And the Metroid series in general has not been one of my favorite series. In fact, Super Metroid's really the only one I've played that I've liked. Like, I don't like the original Metroid. I couldn't get into Metroid 2 on the Game Boy. Metroid Other M was terrible. I don't know. I find this series. I mean, there's not too many games in the series, but I've always just kind of dismissed it. And then I decided to give Metroid Prime a shot because I did want to try out the Wii controls here because from what I remember, like the GameCube controls were really awkward with Metroid Prime, and most people I seem to prefer, I think, the Wii controls here, and they're fantastic. I don't. It's just interesting, but like because you've got the lock-on system, I guess, but you can also like aim with the Wiimote, right? So it's. And I think apparently in the GameCube one you couldn't really aim while you were jumping, and you can do that in this one, which is awesome. It really controls fantastically. Even though after a while, like my wrist started to hurt, and that's always the case with Wii games that use motion controls. So I couldn't really play for extended periods, which sucked because I was so addicted to this game. Like I wanted to keep playing it, but I just had to stop because my wrist was bugging me. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to play Metroid Prime 2 just yet, which I hear that game's like really overwhelming and crazy difficult compared to the first one, but my wrist has had it, man. I can't do another motion control game for quite a while. I think maybe in a year or two I'll pick up number 2. I've heard Metroid Prime 3 is also really good, but apparently it's quite a bit different. I guess I'll start talking about the game. I guess this is probably not going to go like a lot of my impressions videos because I imagine pretty much anyone watching this has played Metroid Prime already. So I'll just kind of talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. Overall, it's a great fucking game, and I'm so glad I played it, and I want to just go and punch my 12-year-old self in the head because like why didn't I like this game? I just don't get it. Like, what was wrong with me? Like, this game is fucking incredible. I do have some issues with it, of course, like most games, but and I don't think it's quite the masterpiece most people seem to think it is. I do like it better than Super Metroid, which some people might find that crazy, but I guess the first thing I want to say is this game really surprised me with how how well it captures that Metroid feel when talking about, say, Super Metroid, which that's like kind of like that game that everyone considers like the prime example of a Metroid game. Like that's pure Metroid, Super Metroid. This really does feel like Super Metroid in first person. It's pretty insane. They've got the atmosphere down perfectly. I mean, this game's atmosphere is incredible. Very chilling at times. I loved the environments. They're absolutely fantastic from a level design standpoint and from an atmosphere standpoint. The music. the music here is fucking amazing. I love it. I think this it's the same composer of Super Metroid. A lot of songs that are in this game were in that I've heard, like kind of redone versions, but they're great. It really adds to that atmosphere. And it gets the sense of isolation that Super Metroid had. It gets that perfectly. There's like no NPCs to talk to, which apparently that was in the third one. A lot of people hated that. This game, you're all alone. Searching this planet. I will say, like, I wasn't really into like the story stuff. You have to basically, you have to scan all these different things on this planet to kind of get a feel of what the story is. It's interesting. It's kind of like Dark Souls almost, where you have to really search for the story here and the story details. And I did a lot of scanning. I scanned pretty much everything I came across, but I don't know. I didn't quite get into the story. I don't know. I mean, this game to me is like a pure gameplay game. I think Metroid games have always been that way. I don't know if anybody really takes the Metroid games, like their stories, all that seriously, but I don't know. I just found myself kind of skipping through dialogue eventually after scanning things, and then towards like the second half of the game, I pretty much just scanned what I needed to scan to get through the game. I don't know. Some people might find it more interesting than I did. I don't know. That was like one of my complaints with the game, but it's really not that big of a deal considering this game doesn't shove a bunch of cutscenes down your throat. It's a very exploration based game, which I love that. I'm all for that kind of game. I mean, Dark Souls, that's a game that's a pure exploration based game, and Metroid Prime is like that. I mean, they drop you off on this planet. There's no tutorials whatsoever. They kind of give you the bare minimum of basics that you need to get through this world. There's a hint system that I had on, and I still don't know exactly how it works, but like eventually if I was running around aimlessly after a while, it would be like, oh, press the one button to look at your map, and then they'll give like a point on the map where you're supposed to be going, or a general guideline of where you're supposed to be going, where like your next power-up might be, because all your power-ups of course are stolen at the beginning, or you lose them. And so you're going through this world, collecting all your old power-ups, upgrading your weapons, getting those missile expansions, it's a very addictive game in that sense where there's so many times where I would see like a missile expansion and I couldn't quite figure out how to get it, or I'd see an area that I needed an ice beam for. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta remember that. And then when I finally get the ice beam, it's like this, I don't know, it's a great moment where you're just like, yes, now I can go back there and see what's there. There's so many secrets to uncover. It was just, it's really, like, the pacing is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you always just want to know, like, every time you get a new power-up or weapon, what you can do with these power-ups. And like I said before, the level design is impeccable in this game. This world is, like, interconnected like Dark Souls 2, where, like, there's so many mind-blowing moments where different parts of the world would kind of intersect with each other in really unique and cool ways. And when those moments happened, I was just like, yes, fuck yes, this is amazing. And, the structure of the game's good. But it kind of leads me to my main complaint with this game. It's probably the only thing that actually bugged me at times, and that is the amount of backtracking. I won't lie, there's maybe a bit too much backtracking in this game for my tastes. Like, the zones are kind of, like, they have, like, elevators that will bring you down to different zones, and there are shortcuts to bring you from, like, to world to world. Like, it's a giant planet, and each, there's different parts of this planet. But you kind of have to go through the same areas over and over again in this game. And the enemies respawn, which is kind of a pain in the ass. And that's where my biggest complaint came in, because there were so many times in this game where I was backtracking, and I just avoided enemies. And towards the end of the game, it gets really, really fucking annoying, because you've got all these space pirates that are really annoying and take forever to take down. And you're just trying to get to a certain spot on the map, and just to have to kill enemies quite often and run away from them and just kind of go really fast through these areas. It kind of got on my nerves after a while, I gotta say. Again, it didn't like, of course it's not a game breaker, but it's the one thing I look at, and I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, how would they fix it though? Is my thing. Like, I mean, I was thinking, oh well, what if they added fast travel at the elevators? But I don't know. I don't think they could really explain that logically within the setting. I don't know. I feel like I might enjoy it maybe a tad bit more if there was like some kind of fast travel system. Not a very generous one, mind you. Like maybe only a few points on the map, but having to like backtrack from like one area all the way to another, it can take a while and it's time consuming and it can be annoying. And I guess some of the puzzles were kind of irritating. I don't know, but it's the level design overall is absolutely fantastic. I mean, the puzzles are very good. Like the combat itself, I didn't really talk about the combat. It's great. You really have to like scan enemies and kind of figure out their weaknesses. There's a lot of variety too, switching between the weapons and it's the bosses I thought were very good. Not the most amazing bosses. I think apparently number 2 has great bosses, but the bosses were very consistent. Like they were consistently good. And the final boss is excellent. I actually really like the final boss in this game. Difficulty wise though, it's not that hard of a game. I maybe was expecting it to be a bit harder, and who knows, maybe the Wii controls make this significantly easier compared to the GameCube version because you have very accurate aiming this time around. But I don't know, I found a lot of health power-ups too. I died once in the entire game, and that was against the Omega Space Pirate. Because I wasn't sure how I was supposed to beat him. I was just kind of aimlessly shooting at his like weak points, and I didn't know how to beat him. So it wasn't until the second time I fought him that I figured out what I was supposed to do. And then he was piss easy, which was weird. But I guess there was difficulty levels. Like I chose normal mode, and I guess I probably should have chose veteran. I don't like playing on the super hard difficulties too much. But I don't know. It was a bit on the easy side, I gotta say. I guess on the trilogy too, there's all kinds of bonuses. Like I was getting like tokens. I guess I could use to purchase stuff. I don't know. I didn't really take notice of that kind of stuff. There's a good amount of platforming too, and first-person platforming is usually pretty shitty. I liked it in this game. I mean, it wasn't the greatest, but it was still like there was some tricky platforming bits, I gotta say. The map was great. I'm glad the map was good. I mean, it took a little bit to get used to, but they identify like doors are color coded. There's a nice legend there. I had to look at the map a lot. I don't think I've played a game where I've had to look at the map so much, actually, now that I think about it. I guess, too, another thing I thought I might hate, there's these artifacts, 12 artifacts that you can collect throughout the game. I kind of figured beginning the game that once I got like my first artifact and found that like temple area with all the artifacts, I was like, I'm going to have to collect all these towards the end of the game, aren't I? And I was right. You have to get all 12, and that's how you kind of access like the final area. I thought that might be annoying to have like this fetch quest right at the end of the game. I actually enjoyed it because it allowed me to go to these these really old areas with all my new powers. So I like found like a bunch of new power-ups, which was awesome. I didn't do too well with the item collecting though, surprisingly, because there's still, I don't know, I guess towards the end I kind of wanted to get to the final boss, but I only got 68% of the items, so I missed a lot of shit. So I mean, there's definitely, I definitely have a reason to go back, and I probably will go back to this game at some point, not for a while, because I still have to play like Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3, but yeah, this game, like, man, like, what a mistake it was to leave this game and not go back to it after thinking like I just didn't care for it. It's kind of like a lesson almost. Like, just because you tried a game once before and you weren't too into it, you might want to try them again later at some point. You never know. I mean, A Link to the Past was exactly the same for me. For the longest time, I didn't like that game, and all of a sudden, I picked it up again and it clicked. I guess some games just take a while to warm up to. And I mean, Retro Studios did a fantastic job on this game. I mean, it almost doesn't feel like a Western game. I mean, it kind of is. I mean, I think Nintendo helped them, obviously. But it feels very Japanese to me. And it's a refreshing game. I mean, at the time this game came out, I was like, I mean, I guess games are a lot more handholdy nowadays, but when this came out, I think most games still had tons of tutorials and handholding, and to have a game like this that just kind of throws you into the thick of things and doesn't give you much direction, it's pretty insane. And I after playing this and like Dark Souls, I really actually appreciate games like this that don't have excessive tutorials and dialogue. Something like A Link Between Worlds, for instance. They got rid of that kind of shit, and new Zelda games should hopefully get rid of that shit. But yeah, I think that about covers it. Again, everyone I'm sure has played this game. If you haven't played Metroid Prime, and if you're like me and thought it wasn't maybe your thing, pick up the Metroid Prime trilogy. Hell, I'm sure it's even really enjoyable with the GameCube controls still. But I mean, if you're looking, I mean, I guess it's not the most story-driven game ever. I mean, like I've said before, it felt like a very gameplay-driven game to me, but the gameplay is so fantastic here. But yeah, Metroid Prime, I'm so glad I played this. Absolutely love it. And I can't wait to play Metroid Prime 2. Although, it has that Dark World, Light World mechanic where you get hurt if you explore the Dark World. And that, to me, that discourages exploration. And Metroid Prime is kind of an exploration-based game. So I don't know how I feel about that. But I don't know, I've heard a lot of good things about the second one still. But yeah, that will do it. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.